All right, good afternoon. Mine will be a little bit serious, so hang on to your seats. Once in the swimming pool, I saw two young boys fighting over a rubber float. Clinging to the floater across each other, they tugged and pulled and tugged, wanting to use it first. They went on like this for a few minutes until a third boy, waiting nearby, suggested that they take turns. So instead of fighting, the boys agreed to set time limits for each turn, and promptly they became friends again. They opted for peace, a just peace. My name is Miriam Coronel Ferrer. I am a peace negotiator, mediator, peace builder. Through all these past almost 5 decades, I have advocated for peace in different conflict settings. The one major lesson I have learned is that there can be no lasting peace without justice. And what is justice? Justice is what the two boys achieved that day in the swimming pool. A fair share of the same resource, the floater. The Nobel laureate Amartya Sen, that's him, was right when he said even children know what justice means. Now, you don't have to be old like me to be a peace builder. You too can be a facilitator, campaigner, mediator, problem solver at home, at school, in your community, in your country, in this country. In 2010, I became a negotiator assigned to talk peace with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, or the MILF, on behalf of the Philippine government under the late President Simeon Benigno Aquino III. At first, it seemed like a nearly impossible task. The Moros had long felt that they had suffered a century of forced subjugation by Spain and the United States of America, followed by what they call a Manila imperialism. With migration coming from Luzon and the Visayas, and the acquisition of large tracts of lands by corporations and settlers, they became a minority in their homeland. Having kept their distinct identity as a people with different religion, culture, and history, they felt alienated from the Filipino majority. After 17 years of negotiation under 4 presidents, we signed a thick book called the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro. The agreement ended the war between the government and the MILF. It acknowledged the legitimate grievances and the right of the Bangsamoro to their identity as descendants of the original inhabitants of parts of Mindanao prior to colonial rule. It enabled meaningful autonomy through self-government. It gave a fair share of the benefits from natural resources and industry. It acknowledged the historical oppression of the Bangsamoro. At the same time, it protected the rights of other people under Bangsamoro autonomy, the settlers, the smaller cultural communities, the religious minorities, and the women. It sought to bring justice to all. In 2014, I became the first woman in the world to sign, as chief negotiator, a major peace agreement with a non-state actor. Very few women have been given this opportunity to show that we, women, can. In all cultures, bias and prejudice against women abound, that they should not lead in the public sphere, and that matters of peace and security are hard stuff that belong to the prerogatives of men. Well, we have shown that we, women, can ably lead and bring about that much-needed peace. Peace. Peace is a fragile flower. Very few peace agreements around the world have held beyond 5 years. We can count among our fingers peace agreements in Aceh, Indonesia in 2004, 2005 in Nepal, the MILF in 2014, and then in Colombia in 2016. These are among the few that have been more or less sustained, including, of course, ours. Most of the time, pacts were broken and the parties went back to war. The political will to abide by commitments simply was no longer there. Now, getting to an agreement is difficult, 17 years of negotiation. Implementing it is even more challenging. Sparks of violence to disrupt earnest peacebuilding efforts. Other armed groups and quarrelsome elites will make trouble. Nothing comes easy. As I said, the political will to abide by commitments get to be lost, and the peace process is lost. So we know that making peace is a big challenge. And getting to an agreement, as we said, is implementing sparks of violence to disrupt earnest peace-building efforts. Other armed groups and quarrelsome elites will make trouble. Indeed, the first quarter of this century can very well be described as a moment when we could just descend into a third world war. Think about it. If you're reading the news around the globe, that's where we are. There's this real threat that it can happen. Dissonance and discord hound many nations. Might has overtaken right. The arms race has badly beaten the race against poverty and climate change. Priorities, resources have moved away from peace building, social development, and climate resiliency measures. Many governments are backsliding to autocratic parochial ways, endangering basic human rights. States violate international humanitarian law that earlier generations of peace builders have painstakingly pushed to be adopted. The rules-based world order has been shaken by its inability to respond proactively to genocide and other crimes against humanity. Now, just consider, 90% of people killed in war are civilians. Not soldiers, but civilians. Ordinary women, men, and child. For these alarming reasons, we precisely need women and men, young and old, who believe in dialogue as a peaceful way to solve problems. If you're one such person, then you are already a peace builder. Wherever you are, your office, in your school, at home, the region, and the world. Because the first step is to believe that dialogue can work. One time, in a large workshop, we did an exercise with an orange fruit. We split the participants into two groups and asked them to figure out how they would share the orange among themselves. It was amazing how many possible solutions they came up with. And not just necessarily about eating the orange right away. The suggestion that I like best was to divide the seeds so we can all grow more oranges like this. Once again, the way to resolve conflict was by coming up with just and creative solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, deterrence by stocking up on one's weapons, arsenals to prevent others from attacking you has its limits. It may manage the conflict, but it will not solve it. It creates a frenzy for war preparedness at the expense of basic human needs. It makes the world a very dangerous place for all living and non-living things. It is madness, where MAD, M-A-D, stands for mutually assured destruction. A possibility that has increasingly been helped, unfortunately, by artificial intelligence. So we need states and leaders who adhere to a global world order based on just rules and norms, from international humanitarian law, the Rome Statute that created the International Criminal Court, the law of the seas, to the universal rights of individuals and peoples, including women, children, cultural minorities, indigenous communities, and persons with disabilities. We need more peace builders, dialoguers, you may say. They who have the conviction that talking constructively leads to workable give and take solutions based on rights-based norms. We need more of us to affirm that might is not right. We believe that humane, non-violent, and fair outcomes can be reached if only the parties choose to go that way. The hard part, of course, is to get enemies going in that direction. A peace process thus involves building trust, sitting down, talking, collaborating. It involves addressing fears of losing identity, constituency of being dumped in the dustbin of history. It requires taking risk, that things can go wrong, that process will take long, and that people's faith in the process fades. Peace builders are sensitive to these fears. They are prudent but are never risk-averse. They certainly wish conflict to go away, but they also know that conflicts can also bring about transformative change if approached well, with goodwill, faith, and persistence. Just like anyone else, peace builders can feel disappointed and a measure of accountability for unfortunate developments, having traveled long distances to get to peace. Still, peace builders keep that burning hope that the world can be a better place than what it is today. They persist in convincing people to choose peace because war is a choice and peace is the better option. They persevere. In Tagalog, we have a saying, kapag may tiyaga, may nilaga. With patience, one will get to enjoy a savory broth. In Waray, they say, ang gahom kanan nagtikod. Power is for them who persevere. Stop the war, choose peace, wage peace. Maraming salamat.